please give it up for Peggy Mannix.
Okay, is this good? Okay, great. All righty. Hi, everybody. Hi. Okay. I've always lived in a household full of men who love sports. As a kid, there were 7 of us in my family, including my dad and 2 brothers, and they were obsessed with sports. And I've spent the better part of my adult years living happily in the company of a husband and 2 sons whose love of the game goes beyond measure. In our house, it was all sports, all the time. Yo, Mama, Dodgers are coming back Friday night. Can we go to the game, Mama, please? Hey, Mom, you see the Chargers made a comeback in the 4th quarter? Peggy, hurry up, honey, come down here quick. Tigers making a comeback. And so that's exactly the way I feel these days. Well, just like the Dodgers in the 9th, the Chargers in the 4th, and Tiger on the 18th, because my vagina's made a comeback. Now, my vagina has served me well over the years. It made it through the 60s. And yes, even the 70s, while living the life of a struggling actor in Manhattan. And my vagina came along for the ride as I partied my way from Battery Park to Washington Heights. You know, nobody went to Brooklyn back then, not even our vaginas. And in the midst of that deliciously hazy decade, I had the good fortune of meeting the love of my life and husband of 45 years in the attic of a Hampton summer share. Now, the object of my affection on this particular steamy summer evening was not my future husband, but in fact, one of his roommates that I had just picked up at the local pub. So there was a clothesline strung across the attic with some old quilts hung over it, creating a 2-bedroom pied-à-terre in this particular Hampton share they called the farm. And as you can probably guess from the clothesline, this was the blue-collar Hamptons, not the fancy Hamptons we see in the glossy pages of Vanity Fair. So my future husband's on the other side of the clothesline with his girlfriend, Maureen the nurse. And on that fateful night, the man that I would later fall madly in love with, marry, and who would become the father of our 2 beautiful sons, heard me, and quite possibly heard my vagina, before he ever even met us. Hey, you know what? Listen, that's just the way romance rolled in the 70s. There was no sexting back then. We just had sex. It was so much easier. Now, the comeback of my vagina is fabulous news because we tend to push out big babies in our family. Any kid clocking in at under 9 pounds is considered a preemie. Our first son, Sean, was born by cesarean section, and at 9 pounds, 5 ounces, he was considered pretty average. But we do hold the family record with our second son, Liam Patrick, who weighed in at 11 pounds, 2 ounces. Okay, to be fair, my cousin Jimmy Seamus, he had a son. It was 11 and 3, and he went onto the weighing station. He peed, and so we went down to 11-1, and we still hold the family record. Now, Liam was what they call a V-back, not to be confused with a running back or a tailback. A V-back is a vaginal birth after cesarean. And for all I know, I just may be in the Cedars-Sinai Hall of Fame. So after Liam was born, you know, and all of that wonderful, fabulous, delicious bonding, the end zone celebrating, my husband saying he was going to be coach of the year, my doctor saying it was the biggest catch of his career. A night nurse came in and sort of tried to shoo everybody out so I could get some rest. And she was going to take baby Liam down to the nursery. And so I suddenly remembered all those rumors that they used to tell us, you know, this was back in the 80s, about sugar water in the nursery. So I cried out after her, a little dramatically, "Nurse, please, I'm breastfeeding. Please don't give my baby any sugar water." She just turned around nonchalantly as she tried to push our little V-backer out the door and said, "Sugar water, honey, this kid's gonna walk down to Cantor's for a corned beef on rye." In the game of life, just as in any grueling sport, it's hard enough for all of us, right, to reach the second quarter. But then nature comes along with the ultimate kick-ass halftime show for the girls. Menopause. Right? Okay. Now, what they don't tell you in this particular sport is that you can be literally blindsided by your own body. That's right. The manager of your team can come along and put you and your vagina on the DL list. And so, yes, and so you find yourself at the halftime of your life sitting on the bench with a disabled vagina. Now, some of my fancy friends at halftime, hey, girls, the clock is ticking. At halftime, they went out to try to find a surgeon, right, to help make them feel good or look good about themselves. Where did I have to go? To a surgeon whose card reads, pelvic floor reconstruction. Now, that's the real world, baby. The women of my family can't even entertain the notion of getting any work done on the outside of our bodies. We've spent most of our menopausal days and beyond fretting about the insides of our bodies. Now, the Mannix girls, we're like clockwork. At 47, our uterus, bladder, and some other odds and ends start to slowly move south. It takes just a few more years for things start to slip just a little bit more at like age 53, and at 57, it's a fucking landslide. That's right. One sunny day, you're shopping at Trader Joe's, you bend over to pick up that nice leg of lamb, and your uterus falls out. So my pelvic floor reconstructionist, or my floor guy, as I like to call him, my pelvic floor reconstructionist, look, we live in LA, how lucky can we be? He was young, he was handsome, it was a teaching hospital, he was at the top of his game. You know, he sort of reminded me of those doctors on Grey's Anatomy, except he always looked way more tired than those guys ever do. On a visit with him to discuss my upcoming floor surgery, I asked him if it might be possible to include my chin and my jowls in that pelvic floor raising. Of course, I was only joking, but I thought I might have detected a look of compassion. As I was being wheeled into surgery, I made one more final attempt for some extra work like my fancy friends, and so I just pleaded with my floor guy to see it if maybe, just maybe, he could find it in his heart and steady hand to see if he could take my vagina back to the glory days of the 70s. If my outer shell couldn't go back there, at least maybe my vagina could. Our sons have grown into handsome, smart, kind young men who are making their way in the world with loves and now babies of their own. And Johnny and I celebrate each married year with grateful astonishment that a meeting in the attic of a Hampton summer share could have led to such bliss. Oh, and apparently my floor guy was listening, because now, when we're all alone in our brand new La Crescenta love nest, the lights are low, the candles are lit, Billy Joel playing really loudly because our hearing is going. On the outside, I may look, feel, and move like a 74-year-old woman, wife, mother, and grandmother. But on the inside, oh baby, it's game day. And I am ready for the play-by-play because, well, my vagina's made a comeback. Thank you.